So I'm still drinking my coffee, y'all. I ain't really had my full cup yet, but I'm trying. I'm trying to get it going. Trying. I'm gonna start off with, I got a message from somebody. They weren't rude, and they said, you know, not being rude or anything like that, but they made the comment of they were tired of hearing about the pill mill in Chillicothe, Ohio, and wanted me to talk about all the stuff that I done. Well, first off, that's what I'm doing. I'm talking about the stuff that I done, and that is by talking about the pill mill, getting the pill mill to where he is not supplying a loved one with his behavior and, you know, the things that he was doing. So that's part of what I done. So everything I talk about is the positive of things that I've done. I don't just talk about things just to be talking about it. I talk about things that I've done. I talk about things that has happened to me, you know, because it's my life story that I'm talking about. I'm talking about my life story. You know, and here's another thing you got to understand. If I talk about all the things that I've done in Chillicothe, Ohio, it will sometimes bring out a depression in me. Because yes, I've done a lot of positive things in Chillicothe, Ohio, but yet I've been slandered for it. You know, when you slander somebody for good things that they've done, a lot of times you're not getting slammed. A lot of times I'm not getting slammed because of the things that I done, but it was because of somebody else helping me do a lot of the positive things that I was doing. Somebody didn't like a certain person. So because they didn't like them, they took it out on me and made me look bad. You know, it was like every time I turn around, it was always a negative thing going on. I'm doing all the positive things, but a lot of negative stuff was coming at me. It didn't have anything to do with me. It was because somebody was around me and they didn't like them. I'm not like that. If you don't like somebody, that don't mean I don't have to like them. I never walked up to somebody and said, I don't like them, so you're not allowed to like them either. If you're going to be hanging around me, if you talk with them, you talk with them. Just don't put my name in it like I don't put your name in it. And when people come up to me and was talking about somebody, I said, hold on a minute. I literally would either try to call the person or, you know, say, you know, we all can get in this conversation because you're not going to go back and say, I said something. I did not say anything. A lot of times others would talk about people who was actually doing the same thing that I was doing in the same field as me. So I didn't talk about others because I know what it's like when you're trying to do the right thing and then you're getting slandered for it. You know, slander is a really hard thing especially when you don't even know the person is slandering you. And then when you go to talk to somebody and that person is looking at you funny or saying, oh, I don't know. And you go, well, what do you mean? I've never even came at you, you know, before. But it's not anything that you've done, but it's what somebody else done. Always remember, God hears that and he knows that. So eventually, when they go to lay down, that's their pillow they got to lie on. They have to deal with that. The slander that they done to you, that's their property. It's not yours. And when they go to lie on it, when it finally hits them and they go lie on it and God reminds them, remember when you did this? Well, that was actually yours because you said it. You lied. So you took upon yourself to accept that because it came out of your mouth. So you got to deal with it, and then he will bring them to light in front of others, and then they don't know how to handle it. And that's how slander and lies just keep going and going and going and going and going, because then they'll run over to another group. So that way this group don't look at them the way this group does now, because this group then found out because they didn't come to light. And it just keeps traveling. I don't have I tell my testimony. Grew up in a dysfunctional home, dropped out of school in ninth grade, had my first child in the 80s, 1984. He was born. Love him to death. He's a big old boy too. Love him. 1984, 1987, had that beautiful little girl, you know, and it goes on and on and on. 89, Dante, 91, 92, hey, 90 or 90 and 91, or, you know, as you get older, you don't remember. Don't be fussing at me about them kids' birthdays. I just know they got a birthday. And so it goes on and on and on. And while I was having the babies, lost a mother at the age of 53. She was 53 years old, lost her. I was 22 years old. And it was 89 when I lost my mom. And then that's when drugs started coming in. Now, let's get something straight. One thing you need to know about me is people take things out of content, okay? When I say I manipulated others, that doesn't mean I manipulated others in the way that people are trying to say. What I'm saying is, I never used drugs, people. No. I manipulated others to believe that mine was so good. My drugs were so good. I made the best crack cocaine. This is the best crack. This is the best crack cocaine. You ain't going to find it nor get it no place else. That's what I said. Shame on me. To get my clientele. That's what I did. I told them mine was the best. Moreover, I got the best. Rocked it right up. I know who taught me how to rock crack cocaine. I will not bring her name up. May her soul rest in peace. She's no longer on earth. But it was somebody who showed me how to do it. She was the best ever. Taught me how to do it. I am not glorifying anything that the adversary had me doing. I'm telling y'all my story, because people getting my story wrong. They're getting it wrong. Let me tell my story. That's what I do. I tell my story. It went from when crack cocaine started hitting tough, coming from New York and places. It was like in the late 80s. I remember who the people were who actually brought it, introduced it to Chillicothe, Ohio. I remember the guys. I remember them to this day. They brought it in. We all jumped on board. I started off with $75. Ended up from $75 up in the thousands every other day. Boom, 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 slanging it. That's what I did. Traveling. That's what I did. Bring it back. That's what I did. There'd be a drought sometimes. Nobody had any, but hey, myself and two others knew I had it. I was making the money. Boom, 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 boom. Not glorifying anything its adversary had me doing. I'm just telling my story. 90s come. Still slinging it. Got others believing I had the best. 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 96 came. Boom. Got hit hard. I'll never forget Randy Blitz. Ron Nichols. Bust up in the house. Raided the house. Just got done, too, with, I'm telling you, you talk about duffel bag. Just got done with it. I ran out and I was like, dang, I made a quick phone call. Somebody swung by and dropped me a quarter, you know. And I was like, that's all I need, because I'm gonna take this ride tomorrow. Boom, got the quarter. Went back into the house. Sold half of it. Here come Ron Nichols, Randy Blitz, and what was the other guy's name? Shoot. Keener. Boom. They come up in there. The kids was on the ground. They had guns up. There was Twyla Goebel. I'm trying to think of who all the rest of them were. Anyway, they bust up in there, threw my kids on the ground. It's my story. I'm going to tell my story. I don't need nobody telling my story. They ain't going to get my story right like I'm going to get my story. They threw my kids down, guns, took me in another room, questioning me, wanting me to take some others down. I was like, no, I'm not going to go there because, you know, I'm trying to figure out, oh, shoot, my kids. I'm trying to figure it out now. So when they bust up in there, they had the paper. They had the warrant. But when they came up in there with the warrant, they came up with like, greetings. Oh, I'll never forget. It was a Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving, in November. They would come up in there and they was like, greetings. That's what they did. I ended up going to jail. I went to jail that night. Some others, they had my kids. I got out the next day, and when I got out the next day, I got my kids. And I think it was like 2 weeks later, I got my kids. Oh no, wait. Sold everything in the house. Boom, sold it. Got my kids, left. We went to Florida. We moved to Florida for, I think I left for 2 years. Yeah, 2.5 years, about 2.5 years, 3 years. Come back. My family called. My family was calling saying, hey, you know, the U.S. Marshals knocking on the door. We got to come back. So they came and got me. They drove all night to pick me up down in Florida, Fort Myers, Florida. They drove all night, came down and got me, brought me back. And when they brought me back, my oldest brother, who's no longer with us, took me to the jail and said, yeah, I'm here. Turn my sister in. And they said, the jail said, oh, we don't have a capias for her. He said, yeah, you do. We'll just sit right here. So that was like about 9 a.m. in the morning, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening. They finally said, okay, we found it. He was like, yeah, I know you would find it. So so they booked me in. I went to jail for, so they got me on a, skip bail and the charge for, drugs when they busted into the house. So they couldn't charge me for trafficking. Never got me for trafficking. They got me for possession. Possession of crack cocaine is what they got me for. So that was in 90, it happened in 96, but 99 was when the actual charge, because that's when I came back. So in August, I got sent off in August of 99. I went and did my time. I get out in 2000. Now I'm going to tell my story. I don't need nobody else to tell my story. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell it right. But I'm not going to tell like, because then it's going to mess up my, you know, you got to come hear me speak. And I will demonstrate, I'll show a lot of things of what actually went down with things that I've done and whatnot. So I get out in 2000. Yeah. 2001. I get out. And I got everything wrote down. I got everything. So don't, you know, I'm not going to be telling my story like, oh, well, wait a minute. No, not going to happen like that. So I get out. And as I get out, guess what I did? So they had me on a monitor. Okay. I wasn't even allowed to cross Bridge Street. So they had me on an ankle monitor, but they put the ankle monitor on my wrist. They was like, we're going to wrist you. I was like, dang, you going to put it on my wrist? I can't, I ain't going to be able to do nothing. So they put it on my wrist. It was tight. Not tight to where, unbearable. My fingers was sticking out like that because it was so tight on my wrist. No, but it was so that I couldn't get that thing off. But hey, you know, when you work in the streets like that, you know how to get by. I was able to get by. So when I got out, I tried it again. I tried selling for like 4 months, but it was different because when I had came back from Florida, I didn't immediately go to jail. I still got bonded out. Corzine still let me get bonded out on my same bond. And I was like, dang, you know, He gonna let me get out on my same bond. And at the same time, he's also looking at me saying, I know you can do better. I know you can do better. What was you thinking? I was like, what am I thinking? I get out on that same bond, and then go back to court, and I get locked up. Now, remind you now, while I'm in court to be sentenced, at that time, Judge Ader was the prosecutor. So he prosecuted me. So he doesn't know. He's thinking I am an addict. That's what they're thinking. But I'm not. I'm the manipulator. For real, I'm the manipulator. God's witness. I never did drugs. So the whole time they're thinking I am an addict. But I'm not. I'm not the addict. I'm the manipulator that manipulated people into buying the best crack cocaine ever. That's what I did. That's what I did. Shame on me. I'm not glorifying. And the reason for this talking is you got to watch those who are manipulators. That's the reason why when I look at somebody and I don't feel that and I back away and they think, oh, she's this and she's that. I backed away from you because I see it. I see a familiar me. And I don't want no part of it. That's why I back away. That's why I do the things that I do. That's why I say, okay, we're going to end this conversation now before it goes any further. Why? Because you got to watch, because there's dangerous people out there and they can actually jump inside you and turn you back to that old behavior way. I don't deal with them. And a lot of them are those who you think that you can go to and get help. I don't hang out with people who drink because that's what I did. I drank. That was my habit. Drinking. If you're drinking, I'm not hanging with you. You got to go. Because eventually I'm going to look at it, especially when I'm down. Especially when I'm going through something. When the adversary feels like, okay, I got you and I got you now. And you over there. I've had them to where they even came up and put it straight in my face and said, this is all you need. Here, just take a drink. And I said, I'm not taking a drink of that. And I did not do it. So the 2000, I get out. I come back. My dumb self is on a monitor to where I can't go anywhere. But I try it. When I came back from Florida, there was already a change. Because a lot of those who I was selling with, we were buddies, we were dealers together, we're slinging dope together, end up becoming. I've seen those with a pocket full of money to coming back seeing those walking bare feet. Snot running out of their nose. And I said, what has happened while I was gone? What happened? What's going on? I see them up on the roof, standing. What is going on? Then I see them inside the dope houses. I see them inside the trap houses. I see them inside, and they're not selling. They're asking me if I have it. And I'm like, what has happened since I've been gone? Wow. So I'm trying to sell, but things just not the same. And I did. I tried it. I tried it for like 4 months, trying to sell for 4 months. But for some reason, I couldn't. It was like, I'm trying, but it was like slow motion, trying to still sell. And I'm trying. I got it, and I'm selling. And I'm like, whoa. Things were so different. I mean, it was like, this is not the same. Well, what I didn't say was, it hadn't changed, but I changed. Because while I was locked up, I'll never forget the pastor that would come in and speak with us inside when I was locked up. The pastor would come inside and speak with us. And he once was an addict, and then he became He got himself together and became a pastor and built himself up, and he would come in and speak. That was when I was actually sat down for the time that I was sat, and I couldn't move, I couldn't go anywhere, to where I actually had to sit there and listen to God. So that God brought that man inside that penitentiary and said, I need you to talk with her. And when he talked with me, that was the first time I've read the Bible, literally. And I finally heard the word. My mama took me to church. My mama took me to church. I went to church, but that don't mean anything. My mama was messed up. Like I said, I lived in a dysfunctional home. She went by whatever her husband said. She done whatever her husband wanted her to do. She would go to church faithfully. She'd sing in the church. She did whatever. She'd testify in church, whatever. But still yet, she had to go home to a terror. So I was confused is what I'm trying to say. I was confused. Why is this happening? When I see you snotting at church and crying and hollering out for God and God's going to do this, God's going to do that. But yet at 1 o'clock in the morning, he's still throwing us out of the house. I'm confused. So I really didn't know God at that time. I didn't know him until I got locked up and had to sit there and listen and learn and feel him. I was when I finally got to feel God and how he works. When your whole body feels like, whoa, wait a minute. You got all this going through your body. It's like somebody just took a shot and just in your body is like, whoa, what is that? And why is this happening? So when I got out and was trying to do it again, I couldn't, because God said, I told you I'm not going to allow you to do this no more. So this is what I got to do. He took me and threw me straight down on the ground. I grabbed my kids up from that house. I went down to my brother's house. I knocked on the door, and my brother opened up the door and he said, are you done now? My brother wasn't supposed to know anything, but it was what God had already set up. And I said, yeah, I'm done. He said, then get on in here. And I walked in. And that's where I stayed, on Gilmore, on the corner of Gilmore, of Chillicothe, Ohio, Gilmore Street. And when I walked in his door, it was April. It was April of 2000. And I sat there. And my dad walks in that door with a 6-pack and some liquor. And my other brother walks in. And we're sitting there. And my dad opens up a can of beer and the liquor. And he pours both of them in this big cup that he had. Big cup. And I said, whoa, look at that. Is that what you've been doing? And my other brothers started laughing and said, yeah. And that's what we're going to be doing. And I looked at my other brother and I said, no, we not. And I poured mine out. And I took a couple sips before I did that, but I poured it out. And I never touched another alcohol drink since then. I've never sold any crack cocaine. I've never sold any weed. I've never sold nothing since then, since April of 2000. I've never sold anything since then. I walked in them church doors on nothing but $20. I'll never forget. I walked in them church doors. My brother-in-law and my sister wasn't there. They were out of town. June Lee was preaching that day, and they were taking up an extra offering for pastor, because it was pastor's appreciation coming up. And I thought, man, my last $20, are you serious? I threw that $20 in that bucket. I went and got a job for Serve Pro, and I got my first paycheck, It was $187. I couldn't believe it. I about passed out. $187. Oh my God. Now you talking about somebody who $187, and I just went over there and cleaned these house. You know what I'm saying? I went from $15,000 every other day to $187. Oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. But see, what I didn't understand was when it said $187, 8 is the new beginnings and 7 is completion. So I had to relax myself and say, I understand. I understand where you're taking me, Lord. I understand. And I know you were not supposed to say, but. That's what I said. When I put that $20 in the offering for pastor's appreciation, it was just a few days later. These checks started rolling in from way back in 1990. $900, $1,600 child support checks started coming in. Stay tuned for part 2 of that.